Okay, Shira, what do you say? Shall we start?
Oh, I was muted. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Right. So, welcome to our webinar on how to resolve friction and optimize progress in organizations by introducing you to our holistic tools and practices. And of course, before starting, we would like to introduce ourselves. So, my name is Hagith Malul, and I'm based in Israel. I'm an organizational psychologist from the Hertfordshire University in the UK, and bring about 25 years of extensive and diverse experience from global and scale-up companies. My experience spans from HR executive roles, leading strategy and execution, shaping culture and building excellent teams, to leading business development, technology, and innovative teams and processes. 2 years ago, I founded Lead2Quantum to optimize the business and human potential of organizations and empower the leadership teams to manage complex challenges in innovative and exciting ways, inspired by the principles of quantum mechanics. Now I'd like to introduce you to my colleague and friend of nearly 40 years. Oh my God, this is so exciting.
Oh my God, indeed. Thank you, Hagith. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Shirah Shulman. I reside in Australia. I've been here for 23 years. I have a BA in International Business and Communications and an MBA from the Northumbria University in the UK. And following a career in the corporate world as a regional marketing manager, and then as a career relations manager in a telecommunications company, I followed my heart and embarked on a new path. Now I hold a master's in psychotherapy and counseling, and also I'm a systemic constellation facilitator. I work with various groups and individuals from my private practice, and I love to combine my experience and skill set to help my clients achieve clarity and feel empowered, and most importantly, to restore a sense of flow. So just a little bit about the agenda. Throughout this webinar, we're going to ask ourselves the following questions. So the first one is, how are we going to resolve friction and optimize progress to create sustainable transformation and maximize the organization's potential? It's a very important question. And the second one is how to harness the quantum principles to improve collaboration and performance. And lastly, how to use systemic and constellation work to analyze and pinpoint the challenges and find the most beneficial solution. We're going to present to you our unique working models, and we're going to use a case to illustrate how we work. We really hope that you're going to find this case familiar one way or another, because at the end of the day, we all share many dilemmas as human beings around the world. You're welcome to ask your questions by using the chat or when the presentation finishes, and we're going to do our best to answer all of them. Over to you, Hagith.
Yes, so we would like to start with presenting a case that most of you would be familiar with, so we believe. Let me introduce you to our CEO. He is in his late 30s, very smart, a highly energetic and entrepreneur, a bit informal in his leadership style, feels comfortable to work directly with the skip level, needs high level of certainty and control. The leadership team includes the VP R&D, VP Product, Sales, Finance, HR, and Customer Success. The CEO replaced the head of product twice due to their lack of collaboration with the other units. His vision was that all teams work in harmony, and he was frustrated as he got too many escalations and complaints. He felt that instead of investing time in promoting the product, the teams were busy playing power games and involving too much ego. He tends to blame the VP product as he perceived this particular role as the one, that should collaborate with everyone and create a clear and aligned roadmap. Despite changing the head of product twice, the product unit still works in silo mode, and the product managers don't engage well with the other managers, with the R&D, marketing, sales, etc. The VP HR calls us as the CEO tells her to fix it for once and for all.
Well, this is where we come in. Once we start the initial assessment, we meet with the teams and listen to the complaints and pain. The VP HR wisely suggests a classic solution, which means let's conduct a workshop with the relevant managers from different units on healthy and effective communication and collaboration. Now, this is not a bad idea at all. But we ask ourselves, would this drive the desired change once the workshop is done? We know that the workshop is needed, but from our experience, it's often not enough. We would like to reveal the core assumptions, beliefs, and emotions beneath the statements, beneath all these complaints. We listen to them blaming each other and expressing their huge frustration, but we know that there's more beneath the surface. We don't want to only work on the complaint level. We continue the assessment and quickly get to a deep root cause, their fear of failure and fear of losing control over things. These fears make it unsafe for them to trust others. And then we get to the CEO. And once we talk with him, we're not surprised to find that he's holding the same worries and belief patterns. He's afraid that his startup might fail. Therefore, he's reluctant to empower his team, although he claims differently and asks them to collaborate. Yeah, he wants to keep control, and he doesn't trust the team to make the same decisions that he would make. That's the whole idea about keeping the control. This is an important phase to connect the dots, and we understand that we need to work with the CEO, not only with the leaders, if we want a real and sustainable change. If the managers are going to behave according to the CEO's verbal request, which is, please collaborate, he gets worried because he wants to control in order to avoid the risk of failure. However, when they work in silo and they act according to the underlying message, the CEO gets frustrated because there's friction and the workflow is not as desired. So our exploration are helping the CEO become aware of the messages and the culture that he's driving unconsciously. He doesn't mean to. And the double messaging are creating really an impossible situation. And both options are going to possibly result in failure. So this is really, really stressful for everybody. Now, the new VP product got a very clear message. Now, this is the third VP product, yes? He is there to make a change. His role isn't only to impact the roadmap of the product, his role is to make his team work well with all the other teams. He knows what happened to the two previous VPs he replaced, and he says to himself, I need to be cautious. So what does he do? He holds endless meetings with everyone, and he hesitates to make a clear-cut decision because he wants everyone to feel inclusive. The meetings are tiring, they're not effective, and the VP product doesn't really know what to do now. He feels the conflict because if he changes his leadership style, he'll be considered an aggressive leader who works in silo. If he continues with his current pattern, he knows that the CEO will not be satisfied because he wants him to move faster and make business decisions. What is he going to do? Okay, so we understand by now that the organization is stuck because the leadership messages are conflicting and the organizational behavior is based on fear. The whole organization reflects the confusion and double messages that tell them they need to collaborate, but also they need to keep control over things, which means don't trust each other. So what do we suggest to do? Before sharing our suggestions, we would like to share with you our working models and thinking processes.
Thank you, Shirah. So let's start by briefly discovering the mysterious quantum world. At Lead2Quantum, we're inspired by the development of science, and especially quantum mechanics, and implementing it in organizations in order to deal with the rapid changing reality, huge uncertainty, and high complexity we experience nowadays. We would like to present you 5 quantum principles in a nutshell. So the first principle, according to the quantum mechanics, unlike in classic physics that is based on Newton, we are not external observers of the reality, but instead our consciousness impacts the reality which we experience. That means that we move the leaders from being in a victim mode of complaining about others to actively shaping the organizational reality. They are taking ownership over the reality and understand their role in it. The second principle is that we have multiple possibilities that we might not always be aware of. We excite the leaders by recognizing that many potential possibilities exist. We can choose the one to be implemented in the complex situation. So, for example, replacing the VP product with a new one, it's only one possible option. And is it the best one? We need to develop the courage to question any working assumption that might not be as effective as it used to be, and create new ones that are adjusted to the changing needs and culture. The third principle is that there is no objective reality. No one holds the absolute truth, as everything is a matter of subjective perceptions and interpretations. If we openly listen to various opinions, we can leverage the power of a team or unit working together, enabling them to interact with minimum ego power games. So, for example, think about your endless back-to-back meetings. Just imagine them. Usually, people are busy in stating and convincing others that their opinion is right, which means that yours is wrong, repeating it over and over again in so many meetings. One says 6, and the other says it's 9. So who is right? Yet today we understand that both are right. We embrace all perspectives and see it as an amazing kaleidoscope that includes all opinions and points of view, while it should be very clear who is being paid to make the final decision. Not because the decision maker holds the truth, but because he is the domain owner. This is a highly inclusive approach that reduces the tension in the meetings, discussions, and enables everyone to be heard and seen. The fourth principle is superposition. We teach the teams to look at reality in multi-dimensional lens and ensure we address all aspects when trying to reach a healthy balance. I'd like to illustrate it to you by introducing you to a model, very useful one, so you can better understand how it works. We live in a world where many aspects of our lives can easily, unfortunately, easily become unbalanced. Therefore, taking steps in organizations to ensure a balanced, healthy, and nurturing work environment, which is necessary for both well-being and optimizing employees' performance and increase their energy level. We relate to 4 human dimensions that coexist and interact with each other: the physical, emotional, cognitive, and self-fulfillment dimensions. Based on research, when these dimensions are balanced, we maximize and optimize the level of energy and thus the engagement and motivation of all employees, customers, partners, teams, units, and the whole organization. So when we work with the teams on their interactions and how to resolve conflicts and frictions that will always be there. We encourage the people to ask the following questions about the way they interact with each other. So at the physical dimension, I ask myself, in what way do I communicate with my partner? Is it about time to stop the Slack or WhatsApp correspondence and set a meeting just for this topic? The cognitive dimension, am I asking only what I need from my partner over and over again? Or should I share the big picture, the rationale, and provide all the required information? This can take, only 2 additional minutes. At the emotional dimension, I ask myself, do I share how I feel? So we stop the arguments and talk authentically about the real issues and how they make us feel. Am I responding to my partner's emotional needs? How do you feel about my suggestion? Not only what do you think, but also how do you feel about it? The self-fulfillment dimension, we're usually very busy making sure that we bring value to the table, we show our knowledge and our wisdom, but how much do I provide a sense of value to my partner? Do I come and consult with my partner and make them feel valuable and meaningful? This is an example of a holistic and multidimensional tool to deal with complex interactions.
So the fifth and last principle is called entanglement. This is a complex word which means everything is connected and influence one another and each other and everything. By fostering this holistic approach, we can understand our impact across the organization. Some examples would be the CEO belief system will trickle down and influence management and employees alike, like we discussed before. Also, any organization will be influenced by the society and the culture in which it operates. There are visible and invisible interdependencies, and these should be revealed and understood so we can have better knowledge and control over what influences us and how we behave. So this is a lovely model we would like to share with you. And when we look at the classical organizational chart, we've all seen them. We often see the CEO at the top of the chart, and the VP and C-level managers are situated below him or her. The ecosystem is normally not even mentioned, right? However, from our extensive experience, and as the quantum mechanics and systemic constellation theories show, we have learned that everything connects. And sometimes we don't even see it because the lines are invisible. Everything belongs and has its place in the system. And so it should be given attention. In the model, you see some lines, but some are left invisible. That doesn't mean that they don't exist or don't influence the system. Revealing the relationships between the different parts, as well as the underlying beliefs they hold, can help us resolve any friction, whether it's big or small. So whenever something is stuck in the system, we need to look at all the relevant aspects to find what's going on there, and not just, jump to the regular conclusion and blame people. And now I'd like to introduce to you the fascinating world of systemic and constellation work. This is one of my great passions in life, and it's a pleasure to introduce it. So systemic constellation work was formed in the mid-90s by Bert Hellinger. He was a German psychotherapist and published more than 30 books on the topic. It's a dynamic model, and there's a lot of movement in it. It's widely used around the world and involved embodied representations. The representations can be either using people or symbols, as you can see in the image. The representations provide us with accurate feedback by tapping into the field of information we all share, much like a Wi-Fi or the cloud. So each person can understand how the other feels and step into the other's shoes. This experience can help us shift and widen our perspective. Also, we can learn about relationship between the different stakeholders and representations of concept. We can bring concept into the constellation, such as money, authority, change, uncertainty, etc. The experience allows us a depth of understanding that goes beyond the spoken word. If everything, as we said before, is a part of a system and there are dependencies and links, then discovering the invisible underlying dynamics that are present now, or maybe they stem from the past, allow us to untangle them. This means that we can facilitate a change and invite a different flow. And so whatever is stuck will no longer remain stuck. The work allows us to look for necessary resources. Again, we can bring representations of different resources and see what fits. And to test our hypothesis using constellation sentences and people's movement in this space. So it's a very, very active and practical model. And when it's done properly and accordingly, it allows us to achieve peace in the system, which is just, so beneficial. Because this work allows us to see the connections and influences inside the system, then facilitating workshops with relevant stakeholders can relieve individuals from the burden of being solely responsible for failures and struggles, and they can help increase collaboration. In our startup, we changed the perception that the product managers are the one responsible for the friction and lack of progress. Acknowledging reality as is with no judgment, this is really important, allows the new to become impossible. When we come with no judgment and we acknowledge what is without resisting it, we are melting away resistance to change. It's important to encourage the team to bring a realistic option of a different reality and explore what needs to be done to get there. The process provides a much necessary relief and also empowerment, because the teams may have been stuck in a blame game for a long time, which caused them to feel distressed, obviously. We all have a need to belong to a system, and we develop a sense of loyalty to them. This is one of the rules of constellation work. But can we be loyal to a system that contradicts our own internal values? What does it do to us? The managers in our startup operated in a silo mode due to being in a survival mode, need to belong and loyalty to the CEO. On the other hand, they have a desire to feel a sense of belonging to the company and collaborate with their peers. Working with these motives can relieve the tension and can strengthen the engagement level and also retention, which is what we ultimately want. Doing this deep and meaningful work can help shift people's internal image of the organization. These are big words, and what they mean is that we see reality differently. We are not stuck with the perception that we started with. We can see the different influences and the different forces and relations. Now, to maximize the impact of the work, we can redefine the organizational culture and set of values. Now, everyone can feel like they belong and agree on the most suitable working processes and communication channels.
Indeed, fascinating. Now, we would like to share with you the useful holistic model that you can implement in any significant change or transformation process. And this one we use before coming up with our resolution suggestions. So as you can see in the middle, we always have the employee, team, or unit and we make sure that we address and balance the 4 human dimensions. Firstly, we have to expose the deepest motives and feelings that drive the organizational culture and behavior. We need to learn about the unspoken and the underlying messages that people absorb and react to, as we did here in our case. Then we need to look at the processes and the structure and sometimes redefine them to ensure that they are aligned with the changing needs, make sense to all, and are useful in promoting success. The third aspect is the core need to ensure that different parts of the organization conduct healthy, open, and transparent relationships. They can speak freely and respectfully about their needs and manage their dependencies and partnerships effectively as possible. These 3 aspects should be strengthened with the desired organizational leadership. Leaders should walk the talk and avoid double hidden messaging. We always encourage authentic and awareness-based leadership. Sometimes we need to redefine the culture so it matches the new realizations and the work relations. Also, we need to ensure that the leaders communicate effectively so they can foster trust and engagement. And if we do all that, we can ensure that our organization is resilient enough to deal with any complex challenges it may face with unexpected reality and rapid changes in the market. Coming back to our startup, we suggest to work with them in various channels that integrate with one another. So, when working with the CEO, we discuss with him his fears, we get to that, the need for control, and raise awareness of the culture that he creates by realizing that his teams are, influenced by his beliefs and messages. On the other hand, on one hand, he wants his VPs to be accountable, independent, and collaborative between them. And as we said, on the other hand, he is reluctant to relinquish control due to his fear of losing the company. They find themselves conflicted and choose to please him and keep themselves safe. They know what happens to the ones that he's not satisfied with. The VP product needs to find the healthy balance and define his optimal leadership style. During his coaching sessions, he's able to choose the best way to drive the teams together and make the decisions effectively. As we described with the, is it 6 or 9 example, he learns to be inclusive, to hear all opinions, but comes to a point right after when he makes a clear decision. Then he takes full ownership over it. He's not trying to please everyone, as he understands that there is no way to please and stay alive. So when we then invite the CEO and the leadership team to an offsite, where we share and explore the misalignment and double messaging. They collaborate to redefine the organizational culture and set of values. Now, everyone can feel like they belong and agree to the organizational values. The spoken and unspoken match, and flow can be restored.
And as we continue to work, now we finished with the high management level. Now we need to cascade the new culture, and we are going to do it in 3 phases. The first phase is to let the managers explore their experience about the source of friction and how to create a different reality. The second phase is to encourage them to recreate better processes and better ways to communicate. The third phase is to hand them their responsibility over the change by becoming change agents. They will be the one who train their employees to make the change sustainable. So let's elaborate a little bit on that. For the first stage, we work with the managers in the following channels. We facilitate a constellation workshop with the product managers to explore the unit's optimal flow of work channels. Now, because the constellation work is unique, as it allows us to examine the impact and it's going to allow us to examine and impact working relations without needing everyone in the room. So we can do that only with the product. As we discussed before, the representatives provide us with accurate feedback that we can use to define the optimal workflow and make it a concrete option. For example, what we discovered was that the product managers avoid communicating with their R&D peers, and then they bypass them by communicating directly with the VP R&D or some of the key employees in the team. Once we map the blocks and friction, we can facilitate a new working channel. Secondly, we encourage the team to list their available and necessary resources. Many times, managers tend to forget that they don't have to rely only on themselves and their employees to succeed in their work, and they have a wider system to rely on. For example, they learned that the team as a whole is a resource. They can send their employees to solve the issues with the colleagues within the teams or from other teams before they reach out to them. And lastly, reaching a new agreement. This is a very important phase to ensure that everyone is in agreement and is committed to the change. For the second phase, we suggest a classical workshop with all the relevant stakeholders to define better working processes. They will be guided and trained on how to communicate effectively, authentically, and establish healthy and lasting relationships. The managers from customer support and product define the adequate communication process that will allow them to have the needed transparency. That's what they define that they need. It will also increase the sense of trust and maintain enough control for everybody. So one example is that the product team would share the release notes in a timely manner, so they don't have to get these updates from the customers. That would be so much more healthy. Now, the third phase would be guiding and training managers to conduct the workshops for the teams and communicate the experience from the process, and then they can implement the new culture and all the working processes. And of course, we work with the teams to ensure that any intervention is sustainable and is continuous. And we provide guidance and support and manage any resistance as it comes up. Once we create a new vision, we're going to help everyone share this new way of seeing the organization, and we're going to strengthen the sense of belonging and loyalty to it.
So we wanted to keep the presentation short, so we can so we have enough time to interact between us. We hope you enjoyed our webinar and gained some insights and useful thinking models. To wrap up, we would like to briefly share with you our offering and then answer any questions you may have. So we offer an insight-led transformation for sustainable change, as described. We do it by performing a quick and accurate assessment, which leads to highly tailored interventions based on modules and packages you can choose from. It can be a workshop for managers, train the trainer to cover the entire company by leading by example, which is very important. Personal coaching, leadership offsite, recreating the culture and rules of the game. We work globally, online and on-site, and offer a flexible partnership. And also to the participants of this webinar, we offer a one-time 30% discount on the assessment process cost with no commitment for the intervention. as you could learn today, an accurate understanding of the underlying organizational culture, the root cause, beliefs, and relationship will drive an accurate intervention and also cost-effective intervention. So thank you so much for your attendance. We would love to get to know you in person, everyone who has joined and registered. And you're going to get the recorded session, of course. And now we'd like to stop sharing and open up for your questions. Let me unmute. Okay. You can unmute yourselves.
Hey.
I have go ahead, Gadi.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. First of all, it was really interesting and insightful, and I really like the process. And I mean, about 20 years in the industry, and I really can relate to so many things that you mentioned. So I really, really like it. I'm in a startup, like we are about 30 people. So how this solution can be enabled, for startups like us, like small size companies, are there like, I don't know, faster processes or some, I would call it like light version of the solution that you're offering?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We meet you always where you are in your life cycle as a startup or any company. And we adjust the intervention to your scale, your needs, and your budget. And it may sound that the assessment is kind of very deep and maybe lengthy, but it's not. The process is very, very accurate, and it doesn't take long, and it's not as heavy as it might maybe sound. And of course, we presented you the full package, but we always adjust it to your needs.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
I have a question more about like corporates, because as you said, there is like the workshops and identifying the underlying issues. But once you set the way, a lot of the time there are people who are resistant to the change, and I can see it a lot in corporates, where they like to keep things as they are today because it serves something for them or some kind of agenda. So how do you deal with that and actually make this change sustainable?
Can I answer that, Hagith?
Sure,
Is that
sure.
okay? Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a really good one. And indeed, there's a lot of resistance, and normally it stems from fear of change, And what we do is we work without judgment, and we really join the people where they are. We develop this curiosity, and we help them develop curiosity towards what's really going on. And when you don't feel judged for it, it creates this sense of peacefulness. And then the curiosity normally, from our experience, is going to replace the resistance. And once you develop some sort of curiosity towards what else is possible, then you can explore other possible solutions. And, our work, especially Constellation, is going to help people see, oh, maybe this is going to feel a bit better, so I don't have to resist as much. I can let my guard down. Does it make sense?
In theory, yes.
Yes.
I'm trying to. Of course, it's a different approach, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it works beautifully in practice as well. It's not just a theory. I'm
That's
talking
good to
from
hear.
experience.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
May I jump in and as another eBay link to the questions? You're proposing something that is quite amazing, which is a second level, second degree kind of a change, which is a whole process on its own. And maybe, Michal, also connected a bit to your question, the thing of implementing and making sure that it's sustainable for a long time would probably require it to be more kind of integrated in processes, in the values of the organization, in so many things, do you offer any kind of support in making sure that there are changes embedded in these areas as well?
Yes, absolutely. So therefore, we start with the leadership team and offer them to go for an offsite and recreate the culture, actually talking about revealing all the underlying issues, which is, this is the starting point for the change. And then maybe change their values. And then when we cascade it down to the managers, we train the managers to train their employees to cover the whole organization. So it's not being kept only at the leadership level, the change, because then it's not sustainable. And we believe, of course, external consultants can gain a lot from holding end-to-end workshops with the employees as well. But we really believe that the leaders, the managers, they should be change agents, and they should be the role models for the change. And we help them behind the scenes to implement the changes also in the whole organization. Yeah, does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I think there's a note to be said that it really needs to be ingrained into everything that is done, right? So processes, when you're talking about that example, right? Processes need to change.
This is if I relate back to what Shirah explained about the solution, the intervention we do with the managers, we had 3 phases. The first is the constellation, revealing everything and speak freely about how we really feel and where it derives from. The second one is actually to work very concretely on the processes and agree on the new processes and change them according to what we understood. And the third one is the trainer, so they implement it with their teams. Those are the 3 phases that cover, I believe, so we believe all the aspects.
Perfect, thank you.
Ifat, you wanted to ask something, haven't you? No? Okay.
I have another question, if I may.
Sure.
This solution works great to the step where people feel safe to share. How do we get to this place where people feel safe? Because not always, especially when you have your manager within the same group, maybe you're not feel safe enough to share what's really bothering you. So how do we bypass this?
Shirah, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, so other than providing the safety of working with non-judgment, I'm hearing that you're concerned that, and I can relate to that, when the manager is there or your boss is there, you don't always express what you need. But when we recognize that this is an issue, we can hold conversations without the manager in the room, just for the teams, so people can actually tell us what's going on. And then we can reflect back and see, okay, so what changes need to be made there? So we wouldn't necessarily put everybody together.
I think it's a matter of the culture, and it differs from one company to another. So in some cases, they can work together at the same room, and it's safe enough to reveal issues. And some organizations, when we do the initial assessment, we understand that we need to separate and work maybe differently with each level. So this is up to the specific culture of the company that we work with.
Could I also bring in a suggestion for the 2 of you, because I know that the topic for today was really your expertise linked to all what's happening within organizations. But well, if you look today with a lot of organizations not only working for themselves anymore, but working in partnerships and working more and more, and you named it already, Shirah, the word ecosystem. So if you frame the word ecosystem across your organization, then I'm also curious if you have experience already with that, or how you should visit that, because what we see more and more in these large ecosystems, bringing also a startup boy, I saw posing a question, startups with corporates, also public organizations that really could enrich what you have to bring, because really these worlds don't understand each other in a lot of cases.
Yeah, thank you, Yolanda. Can I answer, Hagith?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And I think that, yeah, there's more and more awareness of the ecosystem. And when we created the beautiful model and showed how everything connects, as well as with our experience working, using the constellation as well, we always bring the ecosystem, we bring the clients, we bring legislation and governments, we bring money, we bring resources, and we observe the relationship between these. And is there a friction there? For example, am I stuck with processes because I resist their legislation? And how can I ease my resistance? Because I'm not going to change the government now, right? I can, write letters, for example. But how do I work within the organization to ease this tension so that there can be a flow in the process? So definitely, that's a very important point.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember, Shirah, the example that we were discussing about one case in which there were issues with the regulations. And the startup was very, very frustrated by that because it's really, created a lot of friction. And by working with the constellation, there was a relief and release of the aspects that were holding back. Okay, so you can, if you like, you can elaborate. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Any further questions?
I have a question. Hi again.
Hey,
So I'm
Shirah.
curious, there was a point in the transformation process where you identified the need to work with the managers and employees on communicating the new culture, right? And also you said before that the culture is beliefs and understandings and thoughts. So what is your approach to communicating to people that they're going to change their own beliefs and thinking? What is your approach towards that?
Can I
Yeah.
jump in?
Sure.
So thanks, Sean. That's really a really good question and very interesting. The beautiful thing, I think, is that when we realize what we think and why we think it, so I'm afraid that my company will fail because I don't know, because of trauma in my past, because I live in a country that has certain, necessity to survive, because I feel a fear of losing money. When I understand that, that allows me to release that and to go, actually, I opened this company because I'm excited, because I'm an entrepreneur, because I believe in, I have a passion towards the new technology. So you don't necessarily need to change how you think. You release the unnecessary and unhelpful thinking pattern that has been holding you back. But it's done naturally. It's not, we're not doing NLP here. We're not, doing thought control. And once this is revealed, people can reconnect to the company's values, to the culture, okay, so to achieve that, we are going to work together. We don't need to work in silo. It's the unspoken culture doesn't match what the CEO said in our case, right? But when we release that, they can all work together towards one main goal, and everything will be beautifully flowing and aligned. So I think it's less about changing and more about releasing the unspoken and making sure that what is spoken and what is defined matches reality.
And making space for new thoughts.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Collaboration and without fear, right? Without this horrible fear that stops us and that stifles us, puts us in fight or flight, in survival.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks for the question.
Beautiful, beautiful questions you all have. Yeah.
No, I'm liking it.
Are there any further questions? So if there are not, then we will would like to thank you again for your active participation, and we will send you the recorded session. You can of course share it with all your colleagues or anyone that you can benefit from it, and of course keep in touch. And thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.